Hello and welcome to the Nicole Mason Show. I'm so excited today because we are doing something different. Usually we are bringing trailblazing women, but we are doing a takeover. The men are taking over the Nicole Mason Show. And I'm so excited to start with my brother, a very powerful man of God. I want to read just a little bit of his bio, but I want to jump right into our conversation because he has so much to offer. Listen, I want you to invite some of the men in your life, all of the men in your life. Tell them to tune in, tell them to get on dcradio.gov, 96.3 HD4, so that they can hear some powerful nuggets of wisdom that he's going to be sharing. So I'm excited. Minister Bernard Perry, a graduate of Howard University, holds a Bachelor of Science degree and also a Master of Arts degree from Trinity University. While attending Howard, he was a 4-year starter on the men's basketball team from 1979 to 1983. Drafted by the Washington Bullets in 1983, his professional career was shortened by an injury. In 2003, Howard University acknowledged his contributions to the basketball program by inducting him into the Howard University Hall of Fame. Minister Perry is a proud member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. He has been a member for over 30 years. He is currently employed by the Prince George's County Public School System. He has been married to his college sweetheart, Mrs. Edana Johnson Perry, for 35 years. They are the proud parents of 3 children, Taylor, Christian, Kayla, and the proud grandparents to Araya and Amari. And they also now have a new daughter-in-law. And so we are thankful. And the bio is extensive, but I want to jump right in. So welcome, Minister Perry, to the Nicole Mason Show.
Thank you, Nicole, for having me. I am excited and honored to be with you.
So I want to jump right in because you have been such a powerful force in the lives of so many men, so many young men and women, but particularly the young men throughout your career. So I want you to talk about the time that you spent as a principal of Calvary Christian Academy and just your heart for young people and really where that comes from.
Just a passion for, I've always had God has always given me a, not knowing when I was younger, a ministry with kids. Even from high school, obviously through college, but in high school, from sports camps, from different Special Olympic programs, children always gravitated to me and I always had a way with them. And so the men or my coaches, for lack of a better word, in my life throughout my youth up through college and even at the professional ranks have all been influences in my life. And so even my teachers, I wanted to always give back because it was a teacher and my coaches who really impacted me along with my parents to want to help young people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now more so than ever, it's seemingly, like we really need more of that. Can you speak to some of what you see are the things that are plaguing our community, but also perhaps some of the strategies that you've used in your career as a principal over that time span, 20, 25 plus years working with children, and just kind of where you see this going with our kids nowadays? What do we need?
Well, the biggest thing, Nicole, that I've always, the men and women who have impacted my life, the biggest thing that they did for me was that when they told me something, they did it. Mm-hmm. Number one, as a young person. I don't think you can tell a young person, even a young teenager, even a young adult, if you're going to do something and you don't follow through on it. Even if you can't follow through, they let me know why they couldn't follow through, as opposed to just leaving me hanging. You have to show up. you have to show. Number one, I wanted to show up
Mhm,
for my
mhm,
own children, the three children, my son, my daughters, even my granddaughters to this day. I want to show up. I want to be accountable to them. I don't want to, and so children at Calvary Christian Academy, I looked at them as my children.
mhm,
Even though I was a principal, that was my job. I tried to treat everyone like they were my son and or daughter. And so I wanted to be an example that they could look up to. Not perfect, but I wanted them to say, I wanted them to look at Mr. Perry at that point. And just throughout my life, I wanted to be an example for my own children, but your children, within our church organization and at Calvary Christian Academy, I tried to be the example that when I told them something, that's what I did. And I wanted to be able to show up for them.
mhm. Yeah, that's good. And I think that's really powerful. So let me ask you, because I know that you serve as a coach in the lives of other men, whether we call it that or not, a mentor. You certainly are very special to my husband, and just the relationship that you all have. Why is that important? Why is it important for men to have other men to talk to?
Well, the Bible tells us that iron sharpens iron. Um, Women, I feel for a quick minute, you guys have always, whether you knew someone or not, it was always this innate thing that God gave you that you could feel something from another woman. Men, we feel it, but we don't act on it
Hmm.
because we're prideful and how we were raised and how society tries to tell us how we have to be. What's critical and what I've learned being a member of Greater Mount Calvary Holy Church, where you and I are both members under our pastors, Bishop Owens and co-pastor Susie Owens, shout out to them, of Greater Mount Calvary Holy
Yep.
Church, is that men need other men to grow. And
Mhm.
so when you have that other male that you can talk to, you have a better understanding of your own concerns, your own problems. If you're a father, if you're a single dad, whatever, dating, whatever it is that you're dealing with, when you can bounce it off another brother, like minds think alike. Not that you want somebody in your life that agrees with you. You want somebody in your life that you can talk to and that's going to tell you the truth.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really powerful. And I know that you, along with my husband and several other men, came together to do a book, the first of its kind, where you're bringing all men from different walks of life, different kinds
Yes.
of situations, and different kinds of trials, but came together to say, this is something that we need to do and to write about your trials. And the book, Faith for Fiery Trials, Men Impacting Men with Real, Raw, and Relatable Stories. Share with the audience why it was important for you to share your story that we're going to get into a little bit.
You hit it on why it's important for men to see men, to hear other men, to hear our emotions in particular, because we're taught to hold our emotions in, and there's nothing wrong per se, but this book, the reason why I wanted to be a part of it, because I wanted to help that man that's out there, that young man out there that feels that he's alone, that he's the only one dealing with. My particular chapter, as you said, we'll talk about, is about grief, the loss of a child. And
Mhm.
so I know there are individuals in terms of men who are out there who are still dealing with that, or who feels that I don't have anywhere to turn. I can't show my emotions. And so I believe the men in this book, including myself, we wanted to share our stories, to be raw with ourselves first and foremost, but to be open to other men so that they can see that that we as a group in particular wanted to share our stories to help them to be able to move forward, that there are other men out there who are dealing with some of the same things that you are dealing with, and you're not alone.
Yeah, it's powerful. And your chapter title, God Help Me to Believe Again. I'm sorry, Brokenhearted. God help me to believe again. And that was so powerful because I know that there are other men who have lost children, and particularly with, street violence. And we're going to talk about what happened with your daughter. But so many men have lost their children and just really don't have an outlet, don't know where to go. And I want you to speak to that man who might be listening to us today, and just some advice you would give to that man. Because, you know, a lot of times the world spends a lot of time and focus on the mom who loses a child. And
Yeah,
very
yeah,
rightfully so, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
also the men are feeling hurt and going through grief too. And because you can't share your emotions, I would venture to say much more difficult path to
yes,
healing. So
yes.
talk to that man today who's listening and is tuning in and hears a man's man, as my husband calls it, a man's man, talking about these emotions and this rawness that comes along with being vulnerable.
My brother, I just want you to know, as a man, as a Christian man, but as a man, that you are not alone. You are not by yourself. The enemy wants to make you think that you're by yourself. He wants you to withdraw, to continue to withdraw. Do not withdraw. Find you someone that you can be accountable to. I highly recommend, if you're dealing with grief from the loss of a child, to get professional counseling. I am in counseling to this day, Dr. Mason, and it's been 4 years since my daughter has passed. I just want that man to know that you are not alone. There is help for you. There's, and such as myself and the men within this book, I definitely tell you to get this book, the Faith and Fury Trials, the men's edition. It deals with a lot of things that men, as men, that we deal with. And these gentlemen are raw in expressing their emotions. Find someone. I can't say it enough, Dr. Mason. Professional help.
Mhm, mhm.
Professional help.
Yeah.
Find someone that you can. I have a circle where I can call on brothers
Mhm,
who have not necessarily lost children, but
mhm,
they're there for me, that I can call, cry to, talk to. My pastor is one of them.
mhm.
And so find you someone that you respect, that you love, or just in general, I would say love and respect, that you can release this to, that is there to hear you, not necessarily to move you in it, but just to listen. But more importantly, I just want you to know that you are not alone.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I just wanted to read a little bit of your chapter so that people can understand the depth into which the grief you find yourself in and still healing from it. And I thank you and appreciate you for your vulnerability and transparency about counseling. And I think that it's powerful to give permission to people, because sometimes people just need permission to say, I'm going to go
Yeah.
see about my mental health.
Yes.
We
Yes.
go to see about our physical health, but I'm going to go see about my mental health. But I would like to read, just so the audience will hear just a little bit about this day that changed you and not just your wife, but your entire family's lives. It reads this way. It was a typical day in my life on July 6, 2017. I woke up early to eat a light breakfast and off to work I went. I would typically text and or call my loved ones throughout the day. However, this was not a typical day because I was celebrating my 32nd wedding anniversary to my beautiful wife, Mrs. Edana Perry. We had family coming in town to celebrate with us. I received a call from my wife stating that our daughter, Kayla, had a mild seizure at work. So I immediately left work to go take her home. This was a normal routine for us because our daughter had been diagnosed with juvenile myoclonic epilepsy at the tender age of 11 years old. So I want to stop there and I want you to talk about epilepsy and this foundation that you and your wife have started in honor of your daughter.
Wow, Dr. Mason, as you was talking, even to this day, when I read, because I'll go back and read the story, because I know it like the back of my hand. I get teary-eyed
Yeah.
with sadness, but with joy all at the same time.
Yeah.
because I know people who have lost their children, and my daughter was 26 years old.
Mhm.
But I've met people, God have put people in my life where they've lost their child when they were 7.
Yeah.
They lost their children when they were 13. He allowed my daughter to be here for 26 years, even though we feel that that is young.
Mhm.
Um, the foundation was in her honor, the Kayla Ross Perry Memorial Foundation.org.
Mhm.
You can reach out to us, my wife and I. We're there to help you to get through the process of grieving. We're there to also talk to you or talk to groups or whatever you need. We wanted to bring attention to epilepsy in the African American community,
Mhm.
because we know that there are individuals out there who feel, once again, Dr. Mason, families, that they are alone, that they're
Yeah.
unique, and this is just me. We don't have any help. We don't have anybody that looks like us that's going through what we're going through. We're here to tell you that is not true.
Mhm.
And so we're trying to bring as much information, education about epilepsy on her behalf. She was in the arts. Our daughter played sports quite naturally. She was a singer. That was one of the gifts. She was in the Washington Children's Choir, Gospel Choir, for many, many, many years, sang at Great Amount Calvary Holy Church, youth choir and things of that nature, praise team. And so she had an active life. So we wanted to keep her memory alive, but bring attention to epilepsy through scholarships. We give out scholarships as well. And so God has been really, really good through us on this journey to bring about change for epilepsy, and particularly in the African American community, but to all who's dealing with it.
Yeah, and that's really powerful. And I echo your sentiment about getting the book. The story is very, very powerful. And I know you've had the opportunity to be on many different media platforms, and you are available to go and to speak to groups and, all of that. So I want you to not just give the Kayla Ross Perry Memorial Foundation.org, and we'll also have that on all of our platforms, but tell people how they can contact you to get the book, your website address, you and your wife's website address.
It's BernardandEdanaPerry.com. You can
Okay.
reach us on that website, BernardandEdanaPerry.com. You can also reach out to me through my social media handle, Bernard.Perry. You can reach out to me through that, but it's Bernard and Edana, Edana Perry.com. You can reach out to us or to us individually, and you can also follow me, Bernard.Perry. That's my social media handle.
Excellent. Very good. And of course, the time goes by so quickly, but I would like for you to talk a little bit about, grieving as a married couple. And we're going to have a part 2, and we're going to bring in your wife so that people who have lost children, who are trying to keep their marriage together, trying to help each other grieve, talk about briefly how you all have been able to support each other through this journey.
It's hard, Dr. Mason. You know, my wife and I, we've been married now for 36 years. When our daughter passed 4 years ago, divorce has never entered my mind. Divorce has never entered her mind. But when my daughter passed, I shut down.
Mhm.
She shut down, but not the way that I shut down. I mean, I wanted to go hide.
Yeah.
That means from my family, from everything that I know, from the people that was trying to help me. I truly wanted to just leave everything, get in my car and just drive. And wherever it ended, it ended. But God used my wife uh, one evening after we had, and what people didn't know, the ones who do know us, I also eulogized my daughter.
Yeah.
I did the eulogy. And so
Mhm.
probably a month, not quite a month after that, we were in bed crying because the tears were just flowing. because we were still trying to understand the why part,
Yeah.
or to deal with the pain. And my wife, she must have saw it, or God must have told her, you need to tell her. She told me, she said, I cannot do this without you. I was slowly checking out,
Yeah.
Nicole, from a mental, emotional, it had nothing to do with love.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't. I love my wife, but I wanted to just remove myself from anything and everything, because I felt that God should have taken me as opposed to my daughter.
Yeah.
And so when my wife told me that, God said, now you need to listen. He said, you need to listen. And in my book, I think I share as well. I know I share our co-pastor Susie Owens. Our prayers go out to her with the loss of her mother recently. She told me, she tapped me, she told me when I came to church one day, she said, Bernard, God is there, but he's not going to talk to you until you're ready to listen. So he used people in my life, in my path, to talk to me. And my wife was the first one. When she told me that, said, son, you got to get it together. You here for your wife? She said, I cannot make this without you. And here I am. I'm telling you, I was sinking. I was ready to just check out from all reality until she said those words. So I had to be there, try to be there for my adult children, to try to be there for my grandchildren, for my family, and things of that nature. And we just, the counseling piece, I can't stress that enough, Nicole, because at first, as a man, I didn't feel that I needed help.
Yeah. Yeah.
My wife was like, no, we got to get some help, professional help, because my wife wanted to go. Listen to me, men, because she wanted to go, even though I didn't want to go, but because she wanted to go, I supported my wife. God used my wife to get me to counseling. Not that I didn't want to go, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But because she wanted to go and I love my wife, I went. It changed my whole perspective on grief and dealing with my wife and her grief, because men and women grieve differently. And so to this day, it has been I wouldn't say life-saving, but a life-changing, because we know who saves our lives, but a life-changing situation that God used and continue to use our counselor to help us.
Yeah, that is so powerful and it's so rich. And one of the things that you do share in the chapter, and I really appreciated it, is the fact that not only were you all going to counseling together, but that you also started counseling simultaneously, separately. And I thought that was really powerful.
Yeah.
And so talk about how that made a difference when you were, counseling with other men and then going to the counseling with your wife.
It goes back to that piece that you talked about earlier, that we talked about earlier, Dr. Mason, where men need to hear men. Obviously, the ladies' room was packed. I'm thinking it's a couples thing. And it was at First Baptist of Glen Arden. They had a grief ministry program that my wife found, and she said she went. And I said, no, I think I'm in enough. She said, no, come and go with me. Once again, fellas, once again, men, because my wife wanted to do it. I supported her, and vice versa, ladies, you do the same thing. If it's something I truly wanted to do, my wife supports me on it. So I went, I'm thinking it's a couples thing. The ladies' room, it was packed with nothing but females. And I said, baby, I'm in the wrong place. The lady said, no, sir. There's a men's section, grief counseling session down the hall. I go in, there's 5 men.
Wow.
5.
Wow.
All these wives are here. There's a few single ladies, but for the most part, you had over close to 30 women, most of them married. Their husbands are at home.
Wow.
I sat in the room and I sit there and I'm like, okay. Everyone went around and told their story. You saw his pain. I felt his pain. He felt my pain. When God used that counseling, that grief counseling session at Glen Arden for me to see, You had your daughter for 26 years.
Mhm.
This man lost his son, who was 16.
Mhm.
He lost his daughter. She was 18.
Yeah.
I had the oldest child in the room.
Wow.
This man is grieving. He's grieving a divorce,
Mhm.
not a death, but it felt like a death to
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
when he talked. I
Mhm.
said, oh my Lord. I
Yeah.
mean, it was powerful. We were all crying, supporting each other. And it's like an 8-week program. They call me from time to time to come back just to tell my story.
Mhm.
And I readily go back. When they call me, I go.
Yeah.
I'll change my schedule because you get to see other men being vulnerable. And
Mhm.
men are afraid to be vulnerable, Dr. Mason, even in their grief, and they'll grieve alone. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
There are men out here, my brothers, you're out here grieving alone, and you do not have to be alone. That's what the enemy wants you to think.
Mhm.
He wants to isolate you.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, because that can really be dangerous if you
Ooh,
stay alone.
yes, yes. From my own experience.
Yeah.
And because he started playing tricks with your mind, it was your fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when my daughter passed away, I was the last person she talked to.
Mhm. Mhm.
We're celebrating our anniversary. We're going to dinner. She's
Mhm.
home 1,000 times, like you read in the book. She
Mhm.
said, Daddy, I'm fine. I'm going to go to sleep. I said, you sure?
Mhm.
Nothing out of the ordinary. I said, are you
Right.
sure? She said, yeah. Tell your wife. That's what she would tell me.
Right.
That I
Right.
said, happy anniversary. I said, that's your mom. Yeah, I know who she is. Y'all have a good time. Bring me back something to eat.
Mhm. Mhm.
I love you. She said, I love y'all too. And that was the last time I heard her talk.
Wow.
I thought it was my fault.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
started to beat myself up, and he was trying to take me out mentally.
Mentally. Mhm.
So he was trying to kill me in my mind. And
Mhm.
and if it was not for God and me loving my wife,
Mhm.
and my wife listening to him, and my wife loving me enough to say, baby, I can't do this without you,
Mhm.
I don't know if I would be here, Nicole.
Wow.
I truly don't.
Wow. Well, I'm telling you, as our time wraps up, this is powerful, and I really want you, if you're listening, to make contact with this powerful couple who finds themselves in the midst of this pain, but is so much purpose attached to it. So again, give us your website address.
It's Bernard, Annie Dana, no separations, one word, Perry
Mhm.
dot
Bernard Annie
com.
Dana Perry.com.
Dot com.
Okay.
Bernard Annie Dana, one word, .com. Bernard Annie Dana Perry.com.
Okay, good. And we'll have that all plastered on our social media. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being vulnerable. I want to thank you for being transparent. And I really want to thank you for sharing your heart with others as a source of healing, not just for them, but the thing that I've come to know about God is the more we share our hearts with others, God continues
Yes,
to heal our heart.
yes, yes,
So
100%.
I want to thank you all for tuning in again for another powerful episode of the Nicole Mason Show, where the men are taking over. And as you can see, it's rich, it's powerful, it's significant, and it's life altering. So tell somebody about this interview, share it with others, connect with Bernard and Edana Perry by visiting their website, bernardandedanaperry.com. You can certainly follow me on social media at Nicole S. Mason, ESQ, and my website address, NicoleSMason.com. Thank you so much for joining us again on the Nicole Mason Show.